Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, it's Meg, Intuitarian and chef here at Rythmia Life Advancement Center in sunny today, Guanacaste, Costa Rica. And this is my first Facebook Live ever here on the page, at Rythmia's Facebook page, and I'm super excited to give myself a little chance to introduce who I am and what I'm doing here, and the importance of food and the role that it plays here during our ongoing retreat program. Also, the author of Miracle Meals, which I wanted to just get that in there. This is the cookbook, and it's all recipes from the hotel here. And the primary focus of what we do here on the menu is plant-based food. We do plant medicine, obviously, is a big part of what we do here at Rythmia, and I've really tried to get it out there and make it a little bit more clear and apparent how important, the food and nutrition and the choices we make about what we put on our plate, how important that is as well. Almost on a daily basis here at Rythmia, I have one-on-one time to chat with most of the guests. I try to have conversations with at least every single one that passed through the doors here to find out about them, where they're from, and their history, and how their relationship with food has unfolded throughout their life, because it is really important. I've done a lot of study in regards to this, because I myself have battled a lot of disordered relation with my body. From about 14 years old till 30, I struggled very seriously with anorexia and bulimia, which is, for a long time I felt, I wish I never had to deal with that. I lost so much time, and I lost so much, of the vital years of my life to my eating disorder. But now I look back and I see it as my education. I'm not a holistic nutritionist. I'm not a clinical dietitian. I'm none of the above, but I am someone that has lived 37 years now. In November, I'll be 37, and I have spent the majority of my life figuring out what it means to be in relationship with my body and with food. So I feel like there's a big part of my role here at Rythmia is to help other people, kind of get back to that, to get back to having that relationship, because so many of us have cut that off. From an early age, whether it be from things that we've heard our family say, or our parents or our teachers say about food. If your mom was always on Weight Watchers growing up, or if you grew up in an Italian family where it was all about eating an abundance of food and not really knowing about portion control. Like, there's so many variables that are at play when we're developing our relationship with food and how we eat. And I think it's so important for us to get back to the one-on-one, like us, our bodies, our souls, our spirits, and our plate, and why we choose what we choose. There's so many directions I can go on this. I was told my Facebook Live could be like 10-15 minutes, but I feel like I could do like an hour on this subject at least right now. But we'll save it, because I'm going to be doing this every week, so I'm going to have lots to say on many different matters. But I do want to, preface it all by saying I'm not a nutritionist, and I'm not clinically qualified to create a diet for anyone except for myself. And I can say that that's the same goes for you and everyone that's watching this video and listening, is no one is better qualified than you for deciding what to put into your body. As a disclaimer, I would also like to mention that if you're treating some sort of acute, health issue, or you're coming into a place like Rythmia and you're going to be doing the plant medicine, there are certain, little edits you can make to your regular, way of eating to help best maintain your health during that period. People that suffer from things like chronic inflammation or diabetes, or are working on a cancer fighting holistic protocol. Yeah, those are specific times that you might need to be a little bit more firm on what you choose to eat and drink. But I think for the most of us, if we can just sit back and take a look at how we eat and the decisions we make, and how we feel when we're eating the foods that we eat, before we choose them, after we've consumed them, that's the best education right there. So for me, this day and age, and when I talk with the guests here at Rythmia and with my friends and my family, it is all about the emotional connection, because I really strongly do believe that if we're eating when we're not really hungry physically, then there's more to it. Like, we're using food as a drug in some capacity, whether we're trying to block out negative emotions like sadness, fear, or grief, or we're trying to just be celebratory. Like sometimes we want to cheers to good things in our life with a glass of champagne. Sometimes we want to cheer to being joyful with a slice of cake, which is just totally fine. I think the important thing about that is being aware of when we're making these choices and why we're making them, and that's the big step. Because with awareness, you can't have compulsion, and so many of us are compulsive eaters or compulsive restrictors in the name of using food as a drug. for me, I spent a lot of my years trying to starve myself into being invisible because I had a lot of issues, and I had a long running story that I wasn't worthy and that I don't belong here and I don't deserve things. So I starved myself to be very, very thin, so I was someone invisible. Sometimes people that carry a lot of extra weight, it's because they're putting on extra padding to protect themselves. Whether they're scared of something that's happened in the past and they just want, an armor on them, or they're scared of being seen and being seen attractive because of sexual trauma. I know that was also a story that I held for a long time. Just recently I figured out that I used to shave my head for a long time because I just didn't want to be deemed attractive. It's really, and this is all just doing the work, doing the work like meditation and yoga and the ayahuasca ceremonies. We can start digging these emotions up and then figure out what decisions we're making in our lives because of those emotions. So for me, that's the first step, is really thinking about, why we're choosing food and how we feel when we choose it. I can sit here and decide I want to eat an Oreo cookie or a bag of chips. And if I consciously look at that bag of chips and say, hey, I haven't had chips in a long time, I'm going to eat this and it's going to be super delicious and I'm going to be so excited and it's going to remind me when I was a kid and this is going to be super cool, especially ketchup chips, because that's a Canadian thing, because I'm Canadian and I just want to get that out there because I probably said something like out and about from a car at some point in this Facebook Live. But if I'm going to eat that bag of chips and be super excited about it and enjoy it, it's going to have a totally different effect on me psychologically and physically, as far as I'm concerned. If I eat that bag of chips and the whole time I'm eating it, I'm like, oh, this is a bad food. I shouldn't be eating this. This is going to make me fat. This is going to make me feel horrible. Then it is going to do all of those things. And then I'm going to then layer on probably shame and guilt, which are two of the worst things in the world for us humans. We carry so much of those two feelings with us for no reason, and that's where so much of our problems come from. It's the shame and the guilt about the decisions that we make. So for me, it's getting rid of the food rules is the first step in Intuitarian living. Intuitive eating, there was a wave of that, it was really, really popular years ago, and I want to bring that back because I think that's the way that we could all benefit, from in all areas of our life. There's an author that I've read a lot of her work. Her name is Janine Roth, and most recently I've reread her book Women, Food, and God. And her main focus and her main takeaway is that the way that we eat and the decisions we make about food and the things that we put on our plate is a direct reflection of how we live our lives. And I 100% agree with that. I can't remember the name of the author. I just had it out on my Instagram this week. But there's another, saying that the way we spend our days is the way we live our lives. The same can be, put down into the microcosm of what we put on our plate. The way that we're choosing to nourish ourselves and the way that we're choosing to emote, around food is such a huge signaler to how we live our lives and how we treat ourselves as we move around and move through this space and time reality that we're currently existing in. So I'm going around and around and around a lot of circles and try to squeeze in as much as I can, which I don't need to do, so I'm going to take a breath. I just had a nice bowl of soup for lunch. It was the tomato red pepper soup that we have here at Rythmia on the menu every day. It was really, really great and grounding, and I feel really awesome having chosen that. Had I chosen to have, French fries and a cheeseburger, I would probably still just feel as good because I'm to that point now where I'm conscious about my choices here. And God, it's a weight off my shoulders. I just felt my shoulders relax while I was thinking about it, how much more rich and vital and amazing my life has become since I've been able to just loosen all of those ties and get rid of all that weight about food rules. Rules were made to be broken. That's a saying that we all hear and we say, and it's the same around food. If we make rules, we're going to want to break them. There's a scene in Groundhog Day, if anyone's seen that movie. I think it was from the early 90s with Bill Murray. The premise of the movie is he doesn't realize it until a little, half an hour into the movie, that he is waking up and living the same day over and over and over again. He's calling it Groundhog Day, I think, because it was actually Groundhog Day, February 2nd. And at one point in the movie, he realizes that every day he could eat as many pies as he wanted and he won't gain any weight because the next day he's going to get up and he can eat as many pies as he wants again. And that's pretty awesome and exciting. But once he really thought about that and figured it out, he didn't really want to eat the pies because the whole, the idea that the pies were naughty and bad, and eating 1,000 pies, you know, there was a charge associated with that. And once that charge dissipated and you realize, the pie's not so bad anymore, he didn't want to break that rule that he had, his rule about, you know, I shouldn't eat 1,000,000 pies. So once that, you know, that rule was lifted, he had no urge to do it. And I think that's what we can all, you know, there's a lesson in that we can all take away. That if we get rid of the rules and all of these negative charges that we so often equate with good food and bad food, then it's just, we're going to naturally make more intuitive choices and not have all of those other layers of emotions, typically negative ones, that come along with it. So I did make some notes about what I wanted to say here, and I haven't really touched on any of them, so I might save those for another week. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, I don't really know how this Facebook Live thing works. I've got some helpful souls in the room with me, and maybe they can let me know. Is there a way to ask questions? Is there? Oh, if you want, you can just type it. Technology. I used to be a television director and work in multimedia, and I don't know anything about Facebook Lives. Kind of funny. But if anyone has any questions, or you want to, you know, just share with me your relationship with food, you can go ahead and do that. I would love to see that. You can also, you know, if you're watching this not live, you know, type any questions and whatnot, and I'll get them. I'll get those messages, and I'll be able to answer, if not via the Rythmia Facebook page, but also, you know, next week. Next week I'm going to be doing another live. I'm going to be doing one every Sunday. Next Sunday it's going to be a little live cooking demo, I think, because that's, you know, that's my jive. I've done a lot of live TV cooking, and I really love doing that. And I myself, I want to be re-inspired, because I haven't been doing a lot of that, you know, cooking classes and live demos in a long time. So I'm super stoked to be doing that for you guys. We'll be doing that over in Fruits, which is our little juice bar over by Roots Restaurant here at Rythmia. I know if you've been a guest here in the past, you may have attended a live class there with me. Well, I'm super stoked. I'm going to be doing that for you guys live here on Facebook, if technology cooperates. Because you never know. But I don't know how long I've been going here, but I think that I'm done for today, because I need to get back to the kitchen, or else all of our new guests that just got here won't be eating any dinner. And I just want to say thank you all for tuning in, and like I said, shoot us a message if you have any questions. I'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you next week. And don't forget to tune in for Dr. Jeff's live tomorrow night. I think it's 6 p.m. Ciao guys.